Welcome, Autobots and Decepticons. My name is Matthew Flynn, the Gladiator of Chaon, and I'm joined by Troy Pacelli, also known as Karton the Klingon Cleric, and Neda from Neda's Network.
Hi, guys.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the Ben 10 movies, specifically the three related to the original series. Mostly because they take place in between the original series and Alien Force. Actually, no, I think not that they don't take place that long after the original series, because our first movie, Secrets of the Omnitrix, takes place basically right after after Goodbye and Good Riddance, but that one's not canon. That one's out of continuity because that's a what if story, so that one technically doesn't count. So this film basically acts as the finale for the show.
Yeah.
I suppose all three of them could technically count as the finale for the show, but they were all made at different points in time.
Yeah.
Like Destroy All Aliens was made multiple years after the show finished. Because
we were kind of thinking that because as we're thinking through, when these take place chronologically, they all kind of seem to fit right there at the end of the series. I mean, they could all be like right in that day there,
Yeah. Because just Destroy All Aliens, that one takes place I think a couple of weeks after the after either Secret of the Omnitrix or the show itself. All three of them are still while Ben's 10 years old. Probably still within the same year as the original show itself.
Right.
Because obviously that was during the summer, and then these are shortly afterwards. And there are even a couple of callbacks to earlier episodes. Some are more of a visual thing, or maybe just a like an unspoken thing, rather than actually them directly pointing out.
Right.
So we'll start with. Actually, no. Before we do that, this one. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. Right, now we'll get to reveal the secret that I am hiding from you. Which one should I start with? You know what? Let's grab all of them. Here you go. These are the toys of this show that I've had for like ages now.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Some of these are translucent, and then others are completely solid, like this one. That's mostly because there are two different versions of the same toy. Like I have the one that's got the Wildmutt with a translucent arm, but there is one that has just a regular arm. Same for Wildwine. Although I do swear I had an upgrade toy somewhere, but I for some reason can't find it. Yeah. Oh Jesus, head's on backwards. There we go. Okay,
cool.
Accelerate. Also, Ghost 3 Kit, he did have the little chest tentacle things. They were a separate piece you peg on, but I can't find them.
Oh, okay.
So which is your favorite?
Go with this one. Accelerate.
Oh. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, this one, the alternate one with the translucent part was his legs were molded in a different shape, and one of them would be translucent. But more in like a running pose.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh yeah, he also had a faceplate, but that actually bent in half, and I had to throw it. So that's a shame. And what the other thing that you probably already noticed, I am wearing an Omnitrix.
Yeah, very cool.
This isn't the only Omnitrix from the original series that was made, but this is the one that I have.
Cool.
It even has the. Well, it doesn't go up very far. Kind of a shame.
Still, it does give you the opportunity to.
Does it show pictures of the aliens if you turn it?
Yeah, in that tiny little triangle there.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, yeah, because it's actually a dial.
Yeah, because it's basically all the aliens will be little images going all the way around here, and you just do that. You probably can't actually see them. You can quite vaguely see them in there.
It is kind of small, yeah.
It would light up when you do this, but the batteries need changing on this And also it's turned off, so that's not happening.
Cool. And I do see you have a Godzilla poster in the background there too. So
yep. And
kind of underscore the kaiju.
Justice League Dark, Nightwing right there.
Yep.
Superman and Batman right there.
Cool.
And of course an Xbox 360 there. PS4 right there.
Yep.
And then directly there is my PS2.
Cool.
Right there.
Because we'll definitely
and of course a Prince of Persia game right there. I was playing that earlier.
The Godzilla caught my eye because we'll be talking a little bit about kaiju today.
Yeah, in a way. So I have my notes in front of me. Would you like to go first?
Yep. So we started out with secrets of the Omnitrix. And although we did get some secrets of the Omnitrix, we meet the creator of the Omnitrix. You get a little bit of backstory about its creation, why it was created. I was a little disappointed because I really was expecting to get a few more answers that we didn't get. In fact, at the end of the episode, it kind of, in a very cheeky sort of way, kind of comments on that when Ben is asking a question. He goes, yeah, no, I'm not going to answer that question. Find out for yourself, you know?
It's almost like Greatest American Hero, where he's got the suit, he lost the book, he's looking for answers, but no one can answer questions for him or will answer questions for him.
That's a reminder. I should probably think about doing Greatest American Hero for Cultural Fortress one day.
Yeah. I will point out that the Asimov's reason for making the Omnitrix, the reason he gives in this movie, is not it's not the full answer. There is actually more to the story than what he says. We'll actually learn more of that backstory later.
Okay.
One of the later
and that
shows.
does seem to be a common theme for Ben 10 because they do space out the answers, and it's not like they don't exist. They do come in time, but yeah, I kind of was expecting a little bit more as far as details about the Omnitrix and didn't get them. But yeah, we also get a great deal more of Gwen's magical abilities. She's really starting to demonstrate her own abilities at this point. She seems to have as much power, as far as power level goes, as Ben himself. I mean,
no, it's like she even demonstrated, like he was trying to do something and she put up that shield in front of him so he couldn't go any further. So her shields are that strong where it can stop one of the aliens.
Yeah.
Wait, that was Destroy All Aliens when that happened.
We got a bit of echo there. What happened?
Wait, does someone need to mute the YouTube? Do you have the stream open in YouTube?
Well, we do, but we're both wearing earphones, so it's not coming through the microphone.
Oh yeah, because I have it. I've got it muted on my end.
Yeah, I'm muted. Troy's muted.
Are you sharing audio on yours? Because that could be what happened when you shared screen.
Hold on.
Because even my StreamYard is muted because we're sharing the same.
Okay, I've muted the audio on
there
the
screen.
There
you go. Perfect.
Okay, there we go.
What were we saying?
How
that's the second movie that she does that.
Yes.
But still, in the first movie, we see her basically going into battle with Ben, which is the catalyst for the whole story, basically.
Right, but I was saying her magic is so strong, like you're saying, that she's able to stop one of Ben's aliens, is what I was getting at.
Right,
yeah.
But we're talking about the first one.
Right,
that doesn't happen until the second one. Right. So, and I know we're jumping a little bit ahead in the story, but I got to be honest with you, I was not at all surprised to find out that the creator of the Omnitrix was gray matter alien. Because
Galvin.
Yeah, even when they showed what he looked like, I'm like,
wait, do you mean
Yeah,
Do you mean show him as in like his actual form, or do you mean the
no, when they
the
showed his
hologram?
encounter suit in the hologram or whatever, I'm like, yeah, that's not his real form. I'll bet he's a little bitty guy, which came off very Men in Black
That's
to
what I was
me,
thinking.
you know.
Yeah, or the grey matter comes out of the Omnitrix symbol on the chest of the
Yes.
robot rather than out of the face.
Yep. But yeah, very derivative, I felt, and I felt that had to be intentional.
Yeah. There's also one detail about this movie. I'm not sure if you noticed. It has 3 different alternate starts because obviously they're referred to as opening red, opening gold, no, opening gold, opening blue, and then I forgot what the other one was called. Yeah, I think it was called red. Yeah, it's basically where the only real difference between the openings, like the story plays out basically the same, but Ben's using a different alien in the opening. So the standard opening is the heat blast is with where he uses heat blast. The blue opening is where he uses accelerate, and then the gold opening is when he uses eye guy. I'm assuming the version of the film you watched was just the standard version of the film.
Probably, yeah. And what was the reason for
Well, the 3 different versions?
Yeah,
this right here, if you can see, if that's clear enough.
Let me see. It seems kind of small. Let me see if I can zoom that in a bit. Yeah, I'm not clear on what's happening there.
It's basically still images from the 3 different openings. So you have Ben breaking into the place where Dr. Animo is, and he's heat blast, and then here's the gold version where he breaks in as eye guy, and then here's the blue opening where he breaks in as accelerate, and then you have the different actions that he does, and then also the still frame image of the, I don't know, the DNA wave or whatever it was called that hits him.
So why are they doing that? Are they inferring that, these are 3 different alternate realities where the only difference being he chose different character for that timeline?
I actually couldn't find any reason as to why they went with like 3 different versions of the opening. Maybe there is like a more in-depth reason, or maybe they just decided to go with 3 different ones. Or it might be more to do with like network reasons rather than creative decisions.
The other thing is, it's not just the opening then that has to be different. Later on, when they're talking about what happened, Gwen refers to him, when they were talking about in retrospect what happened that started this whole problem, one of the 2 of them refers to what alien he was at the time. So that scene has to change too.
I believe in the rest of the film they'll just refer to P plus because that's the standard version of the film.
Oh, okay.
And,
so they don't even bother to change it?
Yeah, I think within the opening scene itself, it goes from basically when Ben breaks into the place as one of the aliens, and then all the way until the self-destruct. The scene where it like goes inside the Omnitrix and then it turns orange.
Mm-hmm.
Near at the very beginning, it basically all of that part is where the differences are, and then the entire rest of the film is basically the same, regardless of what version you're watching.
Yeah, that's pretty bizarre. That seems very unnecessary. But yeah, it was good to at least meet the creator. I also liked seeing another alien that is the same species as Vilgax. That was
her Myax.
You're a girl.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. But and
I did notice that the beginning where they get banned from the mall. I feel like that's a bit excessive, considering they only cause like a bit of a mess and a lot of noise in one specific store. So I feel it's a bit over the top for them to be banned from the entire mall.
yeah, but that one's not too far out of the realm of possibility, especially when you consider stuff that's already happened in that town. I can understand them being a little bit sensitive, and this may not be the first time with these people. I mean, how many
Yeah.
malls could there possibly be in this town? So
Yeah.
but
the last mall they went to, I think, was in a different state.
Oh yeah, that's right. They were traveling around. I did also, speaking of the mall and whatnot, the very end of the show, and I'm just trying to make sure that it was this one and not the second one. No, I'm pretty sure it was this one. They get a call that there is a disturbance at the mall, so they have to go there. And what's happening at the mall?
At the end of this one.
Yeah, it's a zombie attack at the mall, which I thought was, so Day of the Dead. I was like, oh, that's perfect. Zombies at the mall.
Yeah. I actually have somewhat of an explanation for the zombies at the mall thing, although it's never really referenced in the show itself, so it maybe just be considered headcanon or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the zombies are mutated human beings from the corrodium back in season 3. Not that specific corrodium, but the corrodium from basically the Egyptian alien.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, their species obviously came to Earth, established Egypt, or all of that happened. Obviously in our history we wouldn't recognize them as aliens.
Sure.
Maybe we would see them as gods, maybe something like that. But basically, their people then decided to take some humans back to their home world as like visitors.
Mm-hmm.
And then because of all the corrodium in their solar system, it mutated those humans, and they they tried to reverse the effects. Because of how much corrodium's in their solar system, it's not going to work. And so they, after feeling sorry for doing this to those humans, they then occasionally bring those humans back to Earth to try to reintegrate them back into their original home planet. But because of how much they've changed over the years, it keeps failing, which results in instances like this where they are perceived as zombies.
Yeah. I'm not sure I get that specifically, but it's a perfect explanation. It does make perfect sense.
Yeah, but the show, because like when we later on we'll actually see the Anur solar system where the Halloween themed aliens come from.
Mm-hmm.
Although it has been a long time since I've seen those episodes, so they may actually include the whole zombies thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm not really sure. It's been a long time. I suppose we'll find out when we get to that. Yeah, I also have that after the Omnitrix self-destruct is activated by Dr. Animo's DNA bomb, I think he called it.
Yeah.
After that was activated, and then Tetrax flew down to because he heard the signal that the Omnitrix gave off when it activated the self-destruct. And we get a kind of a running theme with Ben is when Tetrax asks him what happened to the Omnitrix, and like we get like a zoom in on Ben's face and then a flashback to exactly what caused the self-destruct.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just goes, I don't know, maybe it's broken.
Yeah.
Which is a running theme of Ben all through this movie, is Ben causing a problem and then not admitting it's his fault.
Yeah.
But really, wasn't it Gwen being stubborn and zapping him?
No, that was the second
second one. I keep getting the movies confused.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
I feel like
this
it
was
wouldn't be that
entirely.
difficult
This was
to mix them because one's 2D animated and the other's CG animated.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but there's like 3 movies I watched, one run after the other, so they're starting to mix up in my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, technically in Destroy Aliens, that is technically partially Wen's fault, but we're not going to get to that right now.
Right. So the other thing is, again, this brings back Animo, which I'm starting to feel like Animo is, he's like the major Ben 10. I mean, he's like an arch villain, you know, he's the almost like Joker to Ben 10's Batman, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
It's funny because most fans and the show itself views Vilgax as kind of the
now
arch
see.
enemy,
I see
and then views
Vilgax.
Animo as the as like a B-list villain, I think. But even later on, will call Animo like a B-list villain, or like a lesser villain or something. I
Well,
think that's more of Ben's perspective rather than
that may
the
be,
actual.
especially after he spends more time in space and whatnot. But I
Yeah.
I actually I think Superman would probably be a better analogy. So I'm seeing Animo as being more of his Lex Luthor, whereas Vilgax is more of Darkseid. You know.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
You don't see him quite. Yeah, he's definitely more powerful, but you also don't see him nearly as much. The regular go-to is the earthbound, repeating villain.
Yeah. And Dwight Schultz, who voices Animo, he actually voices Animo in everything Ben 10 related. Like
Nice.
the video games, the TV adverts, every different every one of the different shows, every movie appearance he has.
Which I could almost miss because he looks so different in so many different appearances. It's like, okay, yeah, I guess that's Animo because he's got a bunch of weirdo animals with him.
Well, he doesn't look too different. It's mostly the difference is like whatever kind of like outfit he's wearing.
Yeah.
Like we'll have a few different like
and whether or not he's wearing the colander on his head.
Yeah. I don't actually know if that's actually a colander or if that's just looks like one.
I just assumed that it was, he used whatever parts he had around and a colander happened to be one of them.
And the colander also fits on your head like some kind of helmet.
Yup. Exactly.
Yeah, and we also have some. We do have the reveal of some features the Omnitrix has, like the self-destruct.
Yep.
And we also get the news that if the Omnitrix was allowed to build up a charge and explode, it will destroy the entire universe.
Which seems a bit overkill.
I will point out the charge was going for a couple days. That is something that we, I suppose, kind of retconned later, is that if the charge is allowed to build up for long enough, then it can destroy the universe.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. But still, it's like, there's really that much power in the Omnitrix? I mean, wow.
And a 10-year-old has it.
Yeah.
A 10-year-old who doesn't follow instructions.
Yeah, that's kind of freaky. Yeah.
And have a bit later when they actually find the planet that Azimuth is hiding, or after they've been through the prison planet. Well, they call it a prison planet, but it doesn't look anything like a planet. And they call it Encarcicon.
Yep.
It's more like a station to me than a planet.
Yeah.
And we also get while we're there, we obviously meet Azimuth's former assistant Myax.
Right.
Nothing is given on how she ended up in a space prison, considering she doesn't necessarily. She really just acts a little bitter about not being given any credit for helping with the Omnitrix.
Yeah.
There's no indication that she's like a criminal or has done anything bad.
And that's kind of key because a major part of the story is break me out of prison. And it's like, well, are we breaking out somebody who's here, for jaywalking or, was set up, or are we breaking out a mass murderer? I mean, that kind of makes a difference.
And when Ben sees Myax, he doesn't actually like fully see. He only sees her tentacles out of a hood, and he thinks it's Vilgax.
Yeah.
Which Vilgax would make more sense in this place. I have a feeling this place probably wouldn't be able to hold Vilgax, but that's an entirely different story.
True. And he's still being very impulsive. He's like, I don't care if this thing self-destructs and, takes us all out. I got to stop Vilgax. It's like,
yeah.
What good does it do to take out Vilgax if you blow away everybody, Yeah.
And we also have right here 66, who apparently has been in this prison since the last time we saw him.
Right.
I would also do like the fact that when he notices Tetrax, like he immediately starts attacking him. Although we don't actually know what he says because he's speaking a different language.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we also have this, apparently this galvanic mechamorph here, apparently is not a prisoner, apparently it's one of the engineers working on the place, or who work in this prison.
Oh, see, they did not make that clear to me at all. I did not get that.
Makes sense to make the galvanic mechamorph an engineer. They do interface with technology.
Sure, it does make sense, but yeah, I took everybody that I saw there to be a prisoner.
And that's part of Ben's problem. He's such a hothead. He just acts before thinking.
Well, and that's going to come up in the next one where he realizes that could be very, very annoying when he sees that quality in someone else.
Yeah. I do think it's kind of not exactly safe for the engineers to be walking around with the prisoners, but I don't have any control of a prison, so I don't have any authority there.
Right. And we do get a lot of analysis of him as a hero because of his interaction with the I forget the character's name, but the Petrosapien.
Oh, Tetrax.
Tetrax, thank you. Yeah, where Tetrax says something about what heroism is. It's like, well.
Yeah, I think he says, "Do you do it for the thrill of being a hero, or genuinely because it's the right thing to do?"
Exactly,
somewhere along those lines.
And it forces him to do that introspection and realize, oh yeah, I guess it is more about the thrill of it, right?
Yeah.
And then one of them, I think it was female Gax, says something about what have you been using this to break rocks and open jars or something like that?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, pretty much.
It's not too far out of believability for 10-year-old Ben. I mean, we have seen he has already broken the Omnitrix at least once before.
Exactly. And I don't know. I'm kind of starting to feel that even for a 10-year-old, he'd be like, oh, I don't want this to get messed up, but otherwise my hero career is over. I better treat this with a little bit more respect, you'd think.
Yeah. He'd probably start thinking that if the Omnitrix was deactivated or taken away from him.
Maybe.
Although I feel like he would then just revert right back to what he was before when he gets it back, or it's activated again or something.
I mean, I guess I just feel like for all the character development we do get over the span of the stories, there's a lot of character development that should be happening, and they just explain away as, well, he's only 10 years old. And I just feel like, okay, like in this one, if you have a doomsday device ready to go off on your arm, and you're very likely going to die and kill everybody in the universe, maybe you're going to be a little concerned about that and maybe learn a lesson from that.
Yeah. That is a common criticism for the show, is that Ben is like goes through like some kind of lesson, but then either doesn't learn the lesson or he then repeats that lesson again.
And interestingly, Gwen even comments on that. I think it's in the second one where it's like, you've learned your lesson. Yeah, he'll forget it, but he learned it.
That is in the second film.
Yeah.
Although that's probably more to do with the fact that the writers had a little bit of awareness, because that came out in 2012.
Yeah.
And by that point, Alien Force and Ultimate Alien had come out.
Gotcha.
And I think somewhere in there, Ben would kind of late into those shows, Ben would kind of bounce between ego, arrogant 10-year-old Ben, and then more mature 16 to or 15 to 16-year-old Ben.
Is
I think that's
related to different writers?
I think the shows, like, overall, I think they had mostly the same writers.
Okay,
it's more to do with
no excuse for that, really.
Yeah, it's not so much the writers, like, say, forgetting something and then writing it a way that it used to be. It's more of Cartoon Network themselves noticing that the show, the original show, has the best ratings out of all of the shows.
Yeah,
because people enjoy watching 10-year-old Ben, or apparently people enjoy watching 10-year-old. Well, not that anyone dislikes him, but apparently they find him more appealing than rather like his more mature self.
My suspicion, though, is that there's other confounding factors. All they're focusing on is the age of the character, and I'll bet there's other things that people, respond to besides just the age of the character.
Yeah. So Cartoon Network then decided. I think they either made it mandate or maybe they just suggested to Man of Action, one of the two. But they basically said it so that older Ben then acts more like how he acted in the original show.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is, instead of Ben, they didn't necessarily go full board into making him act exactly like original 10-year-old Ben. They more kind of blended them, where sometimes he'll act like 10-year-old Ben, and then other times he'll act like how his 15-year-old self is portrayed early in Alien Force.
Yeah, whatever the reason, though, it's a problem I have with a lot of comic books too. Whenever they change the writer on a comic book, you get all kinds of changes to characters, to continuity, to all sorts of things. And I mean, these franchises need to learn this. Yeah. The whole point of having fans is fans demand continuity. And as soon as you F with that continuity, regardless of what the change is, people get annoyed. That's why we're fans. We want that continuity. If we wanted different, we go to something different.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's kind of been a problem with the characterization of Ben 10. And we will definitely get to talking about that a little bit more as we get into the later movie. But anyway, we also get when we see the creator of the Omnitrix doesn't seem to be too concerned that the world's about, or that the universe is about to end. He's very black-pilled. Like, he just feels like, maybe it's better that the universe just end and start over. I'm like, that's way emo.
Yeah. Although, given what Asimov's been through, I can kind of understand why he has this perspective at this point.
Well, we don't know all that he's been through yet. So, in fact, even after these movies, I don't have a clear impression of what he's been through. Get a little bit more of it from the second one, but I'm still like, that's a pretty extreme reaction.
Yeah. He is, like, I think thousands of years old or something.
That makes sense.
I don't know his exact age, but somewhere around that old.
That's interesting, and that may actually make a difference to a continuity issue I was having with one of the later movies, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, because he is like somewhere near Fountain, because later on we'll learn that Asimov has actually visited Earth before, because he visited in like the medieval period. I'm not sure which specific century, but around that point in time.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's mostly more to do. Actually, that more ties in with like the Asmus and backstory and like what some of the stuff he's been through before the original series, or before we meet him in this movie.
Sure.
I also have when when Ben, Gwen, Tetrax, and Max are in Asmuth's lab, and they're attacked by the wild vines. I completely forgot what the species is even called, but I think they look feral to me, because obviously that alien species can talk, but these ones aren't talking; they're just making noises and attacking. So I'm going to assume they're feral. And one of them grabs or tries to grab Ben, but Gwen jumps in the way and it grabs her instead.
Yep.
And
we get that very emotional reaction from Ben as he, struggles with, the idea that someone else sacrificed themselves for him, and he, it should have been me. It should have been me. That is the kind of thing I'm talking about. You can't have great moments like that and then completely forget about them.
Yeah.
That's just that for all the good writing that we've gotten from this show, that kind of undoes it all.
Yeah. It is it makes perfect sense. Like if it wasn't Gwen, if it was somebody else that got grabbed, I feel like the Ben's reaction to it wouldn't have been quite as emotional as it actually was.
True.
Despite how Ben and Gwen act towards each other, they do actually care, because there are moments throughout the show where we see that they do actually care about each other.
Oh, and we'll definitely get to that later on too. The other movies, we get that even more. We did have one interesting comment about when they realize that this thing's going to destroy the universe, including Earth. They both have this reaction, Grandpa! And it's like, oh, you don't give a crap about Mom and Dad and all your friends and, everybody else, just Grandpa.
Yeah. I mean, Grandpa Max is probably the most important person in Ben's life.
True.
And also there's also that moment where they like reveal that information, where Tetrax apparently knew that this outcome was going to happen and didn't tell Ben about that.
Right.
And I believe he said it was to I forgot what his reason was for not telling Ben the actual like result of the Omnitrix exploding. I think it was obviously it's something to do with like protecting you, or something like something to do with I don't know, shielding him from specific knowledge or something like that.
Could be.
I don't remember
it does. It kind of does. It feels like it's a misteaching opportunity, because he does a lot of, mentoring of him. He did previously, but especially in this movie. And you'd think that would be a great opportunity for him to say, Ben, I realize you never chose this. I realize you're very young, but you might want to really get your head in the game. This is how serious it is,
Yeah. There's also one thing I noticed in the area of space where the planet that Asmuth's on is called. I think the planet itself is called Xenon, but the area of space is called Hugo Patas Quadrant or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking that sounds like the name of a Bond villain.
Yeah, kind of does.
I think it's Hugo Drax from Moonraker.
Oh yeah,
which is probably not a coincidence, given this film also takes place in space.
Yep, absolutely.
And is on a space station at one point.
Yep. You're right. I didn't catch that myself, but yep, that does make sense.
Yeah, I think the quadrant of where the planet is, I think it's only like mentioned once, maybe twice. I think the name of the planet is actually mentioned more times than the area of space it's in. We do also have the when they're actually traveling to Xenon. I think they mentioned something about Asmuth building a machine that drains all the sunlight away so that it's dark. and it's kind of
Yeah.
a Bermuda Triangle but in space kind of thing, because they're all wrecked ships all over the place that have tried traveling there before.
Yeah, it did strike me as they were trying to get the effect of a black hole without the gravity element of it. I don't know. Sometimes they really stretch the science that they're trying to address.
Not too dissimilar from regular comics, then, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah, that's true.
I suppose this series is actually drawing everything from its inspiration, I suppose.
True.
Both the good and the bad.
So he finally does convince the creator of the Omnitrix to shut off the self-destruct, and it really does seem like it's because he demonstrates that the spirit of why he created it, you know, is still
Viable.
Yeah, that Ben can be taught, although that's not at all what we get from Ben as we've watched 3 seasons, but
four seasons.
Yeah, 4 seasons. But
I think that the fact that it ended up in the hands of a human is what surprises him the most. Because it's like, yeah, I didn't expect a human to end up with this. I expected another alien to end up with this for that unity. But it's like a human. Okay, like interesting choice.
And since it is a 10-year-old boy, somebody who is learning the lessons that he intended to be learned from the Omnitrix. So
yeah. Oh yeah, we also have like I'm pretty sure it's the direct scene after Gwen is grabbed by the wild vines is that Tetrax like tries to relate to Ben, or like make him feel better by telling him like why he ended up in the situation that he's in. Because we basically see a young Tetrax who acts not exactly the same as Ben, but not too far off.
Yeah.
And then that resulted in him working with Vilgax, and then getting a specific like crystal, giving it to Vilgax, and then Vilgax using that to then blow up his home planet and most of his species, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Except for the ones that are probably off planet at the time.
So there's definitely that that Peter Parker element to him, right? Where he didn't take his responsibility seriously, and it resulted in the deaths of everybody he knew. So now he dedicates himself to his responsibility.
Yeah.
So, and now he's trying to communicate that same lesson to Ben, but in a way saying, don't actually lose everybody that you care about to learn this lesson. Learn it from learn it the easy way, not the hard way.
Yeah. And of course, right near the end Ben finally like realizes and admits that multiple of the things that have happened so far are his fault. Like obviously setting off the self-destruct.
Yeah.
I don't know if getting banned from all was necessarily his fault, or like not necessarily, not like consciously his fault, because he didn't like get the Omnitrix to like go haywire in the store and then launch him across a room. Right. Obviously, he was the one that caused it to go into that mode, but he didn't like necessarily like consciously choose for it to do that then.
Yeah, exactly. One of the, I'd said earlier that I was expecting to get more answers about the Omnitrix. The one that I wanted and we really didn't get, why does the Omnitrix seem to choose aliens other than the ones that are chosen by the dial? And this is a common trope with alien technology that people don't understand, right? Once you figure out how something works and it doesn't do the thing it's supposed to do, you start to believe that the technology has some sort of sentience. Okay. I mean, the TARDIS with Doctor Who, I told you where I wanted to go. You don't take me there. I don't always take you where you want to go, but I take you where you need to go. So
Yeah.
you have a decision-making process on the part of the technology. We assume something like that is probably the case for the Omnitrix, but why? Why is that there?
The other thing is when
Yeah.
they were in the prison, some of the other aliens were like, if he knew how to use it, he would have destroyed us by now. So it seems to think that, or seems to be that other aliens know more about this thing than he does.
Yeah, that's
How
true.
do they know so much about
I think
it?
that's the rumor of the Omnitrix spreading through space. Specifically, I believe this is more related to the season 2 episode Grudge Match, where Ben was taken to like a galactic arena ship.
Right.
And I think maybe it's the all the people who are watching, who are on that ship, maybe they then spread the message that the Omnitrix is like actually does exist and like.
Well,
and
I
that
also
spreads
get the
people.
impression that there's a lot of backstory here that we haven't gotten yet. Vilgax and the whole story of the creation of the Omnitrix, how it got into that other alien's hand that brought it to Earth to get it to Max. And, there's a lot of backstory there that hasn't been filled in yet. That leads me to believe there's this intergalactic war going on that, people know about, other aliens know about, and, stories are circulating around that. And Ben knows less than any citizen of the galaxy, so to speak.
And everybody else that wants to get a hold of it wants to use it for bad things.
Well, it's a very powerful weapon, right? So even made with the best of intentions,
Because Azimuth even comments on that he made it for all aliens of the universe to like grow closer together, and everyone else turned it into a weapon.
Well, it does, again, that does kind of beg the question, well, why did you make this to do this specifically? This does not seem like you made something to help people understand each other. It does seem like you made a weapon.
Although, given how the Omnitrix works, it does make a lot of sense for the Omnitrix to be a kind of help people get along with each other, because it literally turns you into a different species. It's kind of I suppose a kind of a symbol, like not symbolism, kind of a more direct version of like walking in someone else's shoes.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, it is. And you kind of learn to think like them. But see, again, we're dealing with an Omnitrix that, I mean, you've even told me that the way the Omnitrix was supposed to work, it was supposed to download memories and thoughts and whatnot, and you don't get any of that with this. So it really is not doing the job that it was meant for.
It's not the thoughts; it's the natural instincts of that specific species is downloaded into the whoever's wearing it. The Omnitrix itself downloads that information into the user's mind, so that they can then actually act like the specific species they're transforming into.
I see.
But the reason that feature isn't working in this Omnitrix, well, is one, because it's a prototype, but also because the Omnitrix isn't functioning properly in this class series, or at least that's the explanation that will be most common. Going forward with this, because when we get to Alien Force, the Omnitrix will actually work exactly as intended. Like, it will turn him into exactly the alien he chooses.
Yeah.
Because obviously at that point the Omnitrix would have recalibrated itself, and it would then be working as intended.
And see, and that's the kind of thing that when you title your movie Secret of the Omnitrix, yeah, I kind of expect these very basic things to be answered by this point,
Yeah. I do also like the bit at the end where Ben asks Azimuth to unlock master control for him, and he's like, "Wouldn't you like to learn that like by yourself, like a true hero would?" And Ben's
Yeah.
immediate response is, "No."
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's not being a true hero. That's just at this point being a bit wiser and going, no, I need to read the instruction manual at this point. This is
I mean,
a
I've
very powerful thing that I need to understand how it works, man.
yeah. I mean, I read it more as Ben kind of just wanting the quick way to that specific feature, because obviously he unlocked master control himself before. So I viewed it as kind of he'd already done it himself once before. So he's like, you just do it for me this time.
Well, okay, I guess I can see that. But again, that kind of speaks to, again, Ben never learning any lessons, because I would say by this point, we've seen so much of him. No, I don't need that. I'll figure it out as I go.
Yeah.
He's the type that wouldn't read the instructions, right? And at this point, he's going, I need to, even Gwen, with the whole reading thing, what was that one episode where she stops and reads and he goes, oh, you and your book learning,
the one with the sumo wrestler game.
That's what it was, the sumo wrestler.
Yeah, reading the instructions.
But neither of them had read the instructions. Grandpa did.
Well, she did read.
No, she read the sign that was inside the game. Grandpa actually read the instructions to be able to do what he needed to do to get into the game.
Point being, at this point, he should have learned that lesson, right? And that's what I was taking from this. He's finally learned that lesson and gone, okay, this is way more serious than a sumo slammer game. This is possibly blow up the universe. Maybe I need to stop and read the directions, So wouldn't you rather just figure it out on your own? No, I want to read the instructions. I want to grow up a little bit. I want to do this the right way.
I don't want to blow up the universe.
And how does he honor that lesson? Oh yeah, good for you. Bye. So yeah.
And also we get a new alien, which is way big, which I would imagine if you paid attention to season 4, we actually technically saw this alien before this movie. That's more to do with the scheduling of when the episodes were made, when all this was made, rather than anything. Because in the Ben 10,000 future episode, Ken 10, in that episode, 40-year-old Ben actually transforms into this alien right at the end.
Oh yeah.
The reason he does that in that episode, even though this movie takes place after the show itself, is because this movie was actually made before that episode aired, before that episode was made. And so after this movie was created, they then was like, hey, we have a new alien to use, and this is a future version of Ben. Let's give him this alien.
Exactly. That does make perfect sense. So they can use it as a kind of foreshadowing.
Although I'd imagine that future version, considering that's a separate timeline, I would imagine this movie must have happened in that specific timeline already,
right?
Or as well,
right? Makes perfect sense. Yep.
Yeah. So now we shall move on to the next episode. The next.
Yeah, it is an episode movie. In a way. So
yeah, feature
my immediate first.
Secret of the Omniverse is classified as being 3 episodes in as one part. I mean, even on HBO Max, they have the movie set up in 3 separate parts as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can kind of see that. So my immediate first reaction to the second movie was, oh my gosh, the animation is terrible. I could not stand the all CG. It was just very jarring.
The way they drew Ben's hair, it looked like he had 2 poops on his head.
Yeah, or like mouse ears or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is stupid. I mean, we were better off with traditional, 2D animation. And we've had, a blending of CG and 2D animation all this time, and it was done well, sometimes better than others. But this just struck me as, hey, look what we can do. Yeah, it sucks. I mean, there were a couple things that were kind of cool, like when they would do the close-ups on the Omnitrix. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And when they did, and I can't remember which one is the one that shoots the green crystals, his face actually looked
Tetrax.
kind of metal.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean yeah, the this galvanic mechamorph and the when Ben turns upgrade. Yeah, that actually looks like metal.
Yeah.
That
I do
looked kind of
I do
cool.
like that.
But I didn't like the way they drew Ben. Gwen was okay, but yeah, Ben just didn't look right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, we get more power creep from Gwen, as now she's able to, read minds and stuff. I mean, it's getting pretty out there. I mean, if we don't end up getting an episode where, she goes full on witch, a la Willow from Buffy, and it has to be taken down because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Oh, I thought you were going to mention Galadriel from Lord of the Rings. Like that.
Yeah,
moment at the end of
that's
Fellowship of the
another
Ring.
good one. Yeah, it's another perfect example of the same trope. It's
one immediate thing that I'm sure you'll notice from this movie: Gwen's magic is pink now.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's related to changes that happen in Alien Force, because obviously this came out after Alien Force.
Oh, okay.
So they decided, hey, let's make Gwen's magic look the same as it does in Alien Force.
Which, yeah.
Well,
I guess you could say the color changed because of age, maybe, or maybe her aging or something like that.
My thing is, I hope they didn't make it pink because she's a girl. Because no.
Well, I think it's to represent her personality. I mean, some girls, do tend towards that kind of a trope, and that's perfectly fine. That's But yeah, hi Melissa Harris, how you doing? So now it really is becoming where Gwen's magical ability is the panacea, the Deus Ex Machina. Whenever we need someone to do something that we can't figure out how to work it in there, or we need an easy fix, Gwen can just magic, which is always the danger of magic in writing, but that is what it is. Very much. But what I will say as far as the story here is we definitely get much more of the character growth from both Gwen and Ben, as they both feel responsible for the circumstance they're in and want to take responsibility. And I don't want to say shield each other from it, but out of the grief of their guilt, don't really want to cast aspersions on each other, which is an incredibly big step forward for both of them,
Yeah. There's actually one thing about this movie that I noticed is originally this movie was considered non-canon, but then later on Omniverse will actually directly reference the events of this movie for like some of the stuff that happens there. So this movie is a later point considered canon, but when it was made, it was considered non-canon.
Why would it be considered non-canon? It doesn't really step outside of the narrative, or even have any elements that conflict with anything.
Yeah, I couldn't actually find an answer as to why they decided for it to be non-canon originally.
Mhm.
All I found was it was non-canon when it was made, and then a later show referenced it, and that kind of brought it into the continuity.
Yeah. We definitely get more of the lore of the Omnitrix, of the creator of the Omnitrix. So that definitely does keep it in the narrative line of the previous movie. We have the return of several characters. We have the return of the creator of the Omnitrix. We have the return of the Petrosapien.
Yeah, Tetrax.
Tetrax, thank you. So and of course we also still have them having come home after the summer, and so forth. That's the
Yeah.
one thing that joins all three of the movies, is this is clearly taking place after the summer during the school year.
Yeah, because doesn't Grandpa even make a comment something about, I promised I'd get you home by 8?
That was what
Yeah,
led
right at the beginning.
exactly. So and what you'd have is, this is back to what Nanette kept trying to reference, was the whole battle at the beginning of the Battle of Wills between Ben and Gwen. We need to do it my way. No,
Yeah.
we need to do it my way. And because they both want to force the issue, they end up, causing this big problem that,
Yeah,
leads
because
to the conflict.
Ben tries using upgrade on the tank, and Gwen uses like a disassembling spell, and she ends up hitting the Omnitrix while Ben's like on the tank.
Yeah, which is, and I'll be honest with you, when you get right down to it, yeah, she really did, overstep herself, and it really was her responsibility. She's the one who really did cause this,
Yeah.
There does come a point where, when you have two superpowered beings, you need to work together. You can't just unilaterally decide, I'm doing this, and since she's come to her powers kind of later, she really does need to take the whole, okay, I'm in a supporting role kind of situation here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I also have the title of this movie is a reference to one of the Godzilla movies that was called Destroy All Monsters.
Yep.
And also is also referencing a PS2 game called Destroy All Humans, which was actually a really good PS2 game.
Yeah,
I actually have a copy of it.
so
yeah,
we have another situation where the Omnitrix is malfunctioning. They would obviously want to talk
somewhere
to
on that shelf right there. I don't quite remember where. The bottom shelf where the
I see.
This shelf here. Somewhere there. The PS2 games behind them.
Yep. Nice.
Oh wow.
You got a good collection of stuff there, man. That's really cool.
Actually, this shelf up here, if I do that, see that gap up there? That was actually piled with DVDs. I've actually taken them off. They're right here. They're all piled right here. Oh, and I have the James Bond movie collection. That's literally all the Bond films.
Cool.
I actually got that relatively cheap, by the way.
Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah. Nowadays that collection was worth, like, you have to pay like £40-50 in order to get a hold of that collection now.
Wow.
Although I actually got it from a Morrison's for like £11, like 5 years ago, I think.
Not bad.
Yeah. So the title of the movie is referencing those two things.
Yep. And we again have a situation where there's a malfunction in the Omnitrix, so seeking out the creator would probably be a good thing, but looks like he's been wasted. You know, this. I'll be honest with you. When we finally find out what ended up happening, it's kind of a trick ending, you know, and it's like, oh, and then they reference back. The visual clues were there, you know, but it's very unlikely you would have caught them because you didn't really realize what was happening at the time.
Yeah.
But overall, what you end up with is an alien upgrade type character that is probably the stupidest character. I mean, he must have a learning deficiency or something. I mean,
I think it's also the galvanic mechamorph suit that he's in, because they do mention at the end that it heightens aggression.
It absolutely, yeah, and that helps a little bit. But I'm sorry, that's a level of stupid I just have never seen anyone in this show capable of before. You know, I mean, to the point where, you know, it's like every single time he says, what was that one line? Aliens don't just fall out of the sky. And what immediately happens? Aliens fall out of the sky. And that's like the third time in the show he said something that can't happen, and then it does. Or, you know, something happens to disprove what he just said. It's like, is he now completely incapable of learning at all? I mean, that's pretty bad. There was something, aliens don't just disappear or something like that. And what immediately happens? He turns into gray matter and apparently disappears, you know? And it's like, maybe it's time for you to start listening, because every time he says something, it turns out to be the truth. You're lying, you're lying, you're lying. Why do you think I'm lying? Have I lied to you yet?
I also do like that joke somewhere in there where Ben falls from space and he lands here in England, and he's like right near the Stonehenge. And when Ben like says like, "Hey, stop it! You're ruining an ancient Earth artifact," and the alien just says, "Don't you know a Galvin practical joke when you see one?" I did find that funny when you said that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's, it just started to get very frustrating because this guy just
refused to listen.
Just seemed completely incapable of learning anything.
It's like, suspend your disbelief for just a moment
and then
listen to me.
The whole thing about, look, all of these aliens you've been seeing, they're all me. And then he literally sees him change in front of his eyes and he's still not getting it. I'm like, oh gosh. Yeah, that was incredibly frustrating. I get the joke, but I think they took it way too far.
Yeah. And we also get a bit of more tactical thinking from Tetrax, because when they see the blue and where is the picture of the thing? This thing. The other Toku star, which is actually Asmuth turned into one by the Omnitrix, or accidentally, obviously. But when they first see it and they don't know it's Asmuth, and Ben tries rushing in, and Tetrax like grabs him and says like, "No, first rule of battle is like attack the weak spot." And he's like Toku stars have I think it's like a vulnerability on their fin or something.
Right.
Something like what he says.
Right,
So
which we get a payoff on later on when Ben gets hit in the fin and becomes frozen.
Yeah. There's also a little detail about Toku stars. It's not really referenced in this movie, but it is something that's kind of a general fact of the series, is that Toku stars are the rarest aliens in the universe, because they're born in galactic storms.
It kind of makes sense when you think about it, because I mean, I can't imagine a planet with, you know, all of these giant, you know, humanoids like this. You know, it just it stretches credulity. it's not like you could have, you know, these huge creatures on a larger planet because, you know, inverse square rule, you know, it would be impossible for them to stand up in that kind of gravity. But at the same time, you can't have a smaller planet with these giant creatures on it because, you know, it'd be, you know, not enough room for them on the planet. So yeah, it's kind of a bizarre thing to think about. But yeah, I don't get the impression they put that much thought into a lot of these aliens. We need a giant, you know, humanoid for this scene. So
yeah, I will also point out the design for Waybig in the Six of the Omnitrix movie, and then his design in this movie. It is slightly different.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah, but that's
and
more
you
to do
can
with
explain that away as there might be some sort of evolution of the character over time.
Yeah, because the design of Waybig in this movie is actually the same one that's used in Alien Force when we're following 15-year-old Ben.
Right.
So you can assume that design is like a 15-year-old Toku star, maybe.
And
which doesn't make sense when it's used with this Ben.
And as I had said in the green room before the show, the look of this character is very Ultraman-like.
Yeah, he is. Oh, what the hell? Hold on, wait. Just out of curiosity, is my voice suddenly louder?
It is a little bit better now. Yeah, you had gotten quiet for a while.
Oh, weird. I don't know. Okay, that was strange. Maybe that was just on my end, but my voice went super loud for a moment there, and now it's back to normal.
Yeah, it does sound better. So yeah, I and that's why when I saw your icon, I thought it was a clear homage to a live action version of Waybig because it just kind of fits.
Yeah, because Ultraman's color scheme is very like red and silver, and Waybig in both this movie and the previous one, they're both red and white. Here's an image.
Yep.
That might not be the design from the movie. That might be from one of the games, I think. But yeah, it's like very similar.
Yep.
The patterns are different, but the colors are the same.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't want to be too on the nose. It was, you know, clearly it seemed to clearly be referencing that.
Yeah. And also Waybig doesn't have like a little light on his forehead that indicates how long he can stay giant.
Right.
I suppose they could have put the Omnitrix there. That would have been a good substitute for that feature.
True.
Yeah. We also have when everyone is like absorbed into the Omnitrix itself, it then recreates specific environments. Well, for some people, or for some instances, like it recreates an image of Petropia, which is Tetrax's home planet.
Yeah.
And then in another instance, it will just recreate Bellwood, which is Ben's hometown.
Right.
So I don't know if it's tailoring these like designs specifically to who's been absorbed, or if it's just completely random.
I think it was trying to make things familiar for them, so they didn't realize they were in the Omnitrix, but they figured it out anyway.
Actually,
it's very unclear how this particular malfunction is. I mean, I know they tried to explain it, you know, in the denouement where she's explaining what she did and how it happened and whatnot, but it never really got clear to me. What it really comes down to is I shoot boom boom and it make messed up go zzz, you know. That's really what I got from it.
I do like the fact that when Tetrax, when he first when he's actually in there and he first sees that the Omnitrix has recreated his home planet, he doesn't realize that at first. He just assumes he's back on his home planet.
Yeah,
I do like that like look on his face when he sees it.
Which, from a story point of view, you can infer a great deal from that. That had to be a huge emotional thing for him, right?
Yeah. There is actually an episode of I think it's Alien Force Season 3 that will actually go more in depth with Tetrax's backstory, you know, Petropolis and like what happened and all of that. There's like an episode that's specifically based around all of that.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to worry about that right now. Also, I've noticed that the name of the planet wouldn't that technically mean rock paradise or something like that? Because it's like petro meaning rock, and the Petropia part is obviously utopia.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm thinking, so does that
Well,
mean it's just
Opia just means like land or city or whatever. Utopia
okay?
being
So
a specific one.
Rockland or Rock City.
Yeah. You know, it's the derivative of just like utopia, dystopia, you know. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that's and we get the I mean, we're going through this whole thing, so it's not like we have to worry about spoilers. So
Yeah.
we find out that the big bad of the episode is actually the father of the creator of the Omnitrix.
Yeah, Asimov's father. I don't think they give him. I don't think they mention his name. I'm pretty sure
And
they just go. I think they just refer to him as Asimov's father, and I think they just leave it at that.
and I was totally fine with that concept. It just made zero sense to me that they make him physically younger, and they even comment on it.
Yeah, I don't understand that part.
Why do you look younger? Oh, you don't understand, you know.
Well, think about it. Remember Mork and Mindy?
I know, and it's stupid. It makes zero sense.
You age backwards.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's ridiculous. If you don't have some good story reason for it, you should not be doing that. In Mork and Mindy, it was just cornball humor. Here, it really needs to have a purpose, and it doesn't. And they don't explain it. And I'm going to guess they never even come back to it again.
I don't recall any episode later on mentioning like Galvin aging or anything like that.
So, it's not real surprising. I kind of wasn't surprised to find out that, you know, the father and son were the same species, you know.
Yeah, I do find it funny that Gwen's even like mentions that to Ben, because like for some reason Ben didn't kind of catch on to the fact that they're the same species despite being related.
Right. Maybe he takes after his mother. I mean, that was a great line, but when you consider, we know how upgrade works, right?
Yeah.
It kind of made sense. Although I guess I didn't realize that it was a single technology that he was using. This, you know,
yeah,
I thought it was
suit.
Yeah, I thought he had some sort of an encounter suit that additionally had you know, an upgrade done to it, which would have made him two characters, which would not have made a lot of sense in the story. So
yeah.
I guess the way they went with it actually does make more sense.
Yeah. I mean, that does kind of go into the whole, like, because this would be considered a pure mechamorph, because it can absorb like another technology, and then that technology is then a part of that mechamorph, and it can recreate that even if it's not attached to the original technology it has absorbed.
Yeah.
And I would assume at some point either Asimov or someone else had this suit and then just absorbed a whole bunch of various technologies and various things, and now the suit can then do all of what we see it do.
Kind of like a wearable Omnitrix. I mean,
kind of, yeah. I do. There is that comparison there.
Yeah, and so, Asimov even uses the his father in the mechamorph suit to then repair the Omnitrix.
Right, and the so the father, his whole purpose is trying to get his son back and try and reconnect with him. Okay, got that.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Then when he thinks that his son is dead, he wants to avenge his son's death.
Yeah.
Only to find out
all he has is the a few little clips of what happened.
Right.
And
so
because he sees those clips out of context, it makes sense that he would think Asimov's dead.
Right.
Because all he sees is Asimov piloting the ship, and then a Toku starts stepping on that ship from a different perspective.
Right. And from our point of view, you know, we're thinking it's the same thing he is, right? So yeah, we're kind of getting that. Although I do have to say, at about the 3/4 mark of the show, I was kind of starting to figure it out, because it was like, wait a minute, they can't kill off, what's the character's name again?
Azimuth.
Azimuth. Can't kill off Azimuth, because we need somebody to fix the Omnitrix. So, you know, he's probably coming back. Oh, wait a minute. What if he is the giant alien that he's been chasing after? But then again, stupid, won't listen, can't be taught. That is your son. I don't believe you. I got to get revenge. Dude, you're gonna kill your son. The son you're trying to avenge, you're gonna kill.
And when
you
Ben's
understand
like,
this simple piece of logic.
yeah, we even do get Ben being annoyed by like just the way he's acting as well.
Right, I
think,
referenced that before, where he's like, "Oh my gosh, is this what people have to go through with me?" You know?
Yeah.
He even says, "I'm starting to sound like Gwen." It was very frustrating. And again, if Ben doesn't come away with this, with that lesson, then the whole show is pointless. You know, the whole story. It's like, why did you even bother making this movie if he doesn't actually come away with it having learned something? Hey, Matanui, how you doing? Good to see you. But that's. But yeah, I guess that's the whole point of it. He figures out it's his son. Gwen actually is instrumental in helping to fix it and straighten it out. Again, feeling very responsible for what's happened. I think rightly so in this circumstance.
Yeah. And also, one thing you might have noticed, Gwen sounded slightly different. It's the same voice actor from the previous movie and the show itself. But I suppose that's more down to the fact that this movie came up like over 5 or so years after the original show.
Yeah.
And also, this is the last time we're going to hear Megan Smith, who voices Gwen. This is the last time we're going to hear her voice as 10-year-old Gwen.
Yeah, I mean,
we are going to see 10-year-old Gwen again, but it's not going to be the same person voicing her.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on the reasons why exactly.
And it does make sense that the voices do need to mature. So I do understand that.
The Alien Force actor for Gwen is the person who will voice basically every version of Gwen going forward, or after this.
We also see a great deal of development in the relationship between Gwen and Ben, which I have no hope is going to actually stick, but it should. You know, a bit of understanding of each other, a bit of opportunity for them to start working together better. But whether or not that actually comes to pass, I'll find out, I suppose.
Yeah. Is that about everything that we got to say on this movie?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the final movie, Race Against Time.
Yep. So if I had problems with the graphics in the second one, this was incredibly jarring to me.
I mean, this one did come out before the previous one, so that is also a reason for it.
As soon as it starts out, I'm like, is this all live action? Because at first I thought it was more CG. I'm like, wow, this is really good CG. Wait, this is live action. Is this whole thing going to be live action? I was like, oh my God.
And then we saw Lee Majors.
Yeah. I do have to say, that was the best part of this whole film for me.
Yeah.
Was Lee Majors as Grandpa.
Yeah.
that I don't know if I could have gotten through the whole movie if it hadn't been for Lee Majors, to be honest with you.
And it took a while for them to get him into the Hawaiian shirt that we're so used to
Yeah,
seeing him in.
exactly. But I did like the graphics at the beginning. So the villain character is shooting out these energy bolts, which are this.
Yeah,
It looks
time blasts.
yeah,
He's
but it
it's
looks
'cause his
like
name's
this.
Eon.
It looks like the same kind of blasts that Gwen was doing in the previous film, the pinkish purple, orbs.
Yeah, I think it was pinkish magenta, I think.
Yeah, so I kind of got the impression, okay, so is this magic, maybe? But kind of cool. I did kind of like the representation of Ben as lava guy, whatever the character is.
Yeah, Heat Blast.
I felt that
Although
was
it wasn't
good.
Steve Bloom voicing him for some reason.
Yeah, it was a good graphic representation, a CG representation of a live action version, and Ben's interaction as that hero character in that first confrontation, to me, came off very Peter Parker Spider-Man. I really did kind of like that.
There was definitely a lot of parallels between young, like 10-year-old Ben and Spider-Man.
Yeah, I definitely got that. I also did very much like the transformation scenes. I thought they were done very well. So for all the, CG graphics, I'd say that was actually pretty good. Downsides are the fact that this is live action. They really downplay the special effects because the special effects are going to be much more labor intensive. You know? So that's kind of a problem. There's actually a value and a reason to why this should be an animated show, my biggest problem, I could have forgiven every other thing about this. The live action, the everything, the different voice actors, everything, except for the parents.
Oh gosh.
The parents were terrible. These were not every other character, even the freaking bully characters in the school harken back to their original versions that we've seen throughout the cartoons, and you could see the similarity. The parents were not the same parents. They were frickin' hippies. These were not the same characters that we saw in previous incarnations. This was bad. This was wrong. It makes me wonder, is this even considered canon continuity with all of the rest of Ben 10?
No, it's not. This is a separate timeline from the main series.
That makes sense.
Elements of this movie will come back later on, but not as more of like Eon, like the villain Eon. He'll come back a few times.
Okay, that's another thing. The character of Eon, I did not understand at all. It did not make a lick of sense. The whole time travel element of it, the way the Omnitrix work, none of that works for me.
Yeah, don't worry. The next time we see Eon, it will have no relation. Well, he'll be this. I think the same character, but like a lot of his backstory and elements of how his character works and all that, they'll be completely changed the next time we see him.
Okay, but I'm not done ranting about this yet.
Yeah, go
so
go ahead.
I at first I thought it was leading up to something. I thought it was leading up to Eon is actually an alternate future version of Ben. If that had been the case, it would have made a little bit more sense to me. And he, a future Ben obtains time travel abilities, and he's gone back in time and tried to, alter his own history or something like that. That would have made sense, especially because part of the Eon's evil scheme is that he has gone back in time and, I don't know, inserted himself into the Omnitrix so that
Yeah, it's because at least for this movie, he's classified as an alien species called a Cronian, and well, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but and essentially because his DNA is different enough to be classified as a different species, then he's basically done the same thing as what the Halloween aliens did, where their DNA was absorbed into the Omnitrix.
Right.
It's basically the same thing, except this instance, Eon is consciously trying to make that happen.
Yeah, and then he's also going with the whole. It's not just that his DNA is absorbed so that Ben can become that species. He's becoming that specific individual with all of his memories and personality, which is completely not what we have seen happen before.
I think that might be like a unique circumstance rather than like a standard thing.
Then they needed to explain it better if that's the case.
The one thing that Troy and I both liked was seeing the other plumbers. They're older, but they still know how to handle things.
I'm sure you
running
recognized
gag
one
with
of
the
them.
keys was like, really? Okay. The first time it was funny. The second time it's like, okay, it's starting to get tired now.
I did like some of the on the nose jokes where, well, what did you expect? We were just going to ring the doorbell, and then he rings the doorbell. I did get a kick out of that, but that's kind of unfortunate because some of the things that I like about this, I'm going to now find out are non-canon. So these other plumbers in town, the principal. I love the principal character, by the way.
Did you recognize the actor?
Oh yeah, Robert Picardo. I loved it. So all of that is going to be non-canon and taken out, and it's like you really actually did develop some story here. This whole idea that these plumbers are focused in this town. I did like the bit about all of this was under the town the whole time, and Gwen going, no, they just installed it last week. But now, in retrospect, that's basically what happened because this is non-canon. That stuff's probably.
Oh wait, I just remembered the plumber base under Bellwood. We will actually see that again. It won't look exactly the same, but there is a plumber base underneath Bellwood. That's not something that's exclusive to this movie.
And what about the other plumbers? Do they return at all? Do they still exist?
We do see other plumber, although the thing with the plumbers is a little more complicated because there's two different versions of the plumbers depending on what point in time you're looking at. We do get like a brief moment in a later show that has like 10 plumbers going around like during 10-year-old Ben.
Yeah.
But after we go into Alien Force, how the plumbers work will actually be different. And sadly, kind of poorly explained why it's different, but we don't have to worry about that right now.
And I do, as the film progressed, I did kind of get into the new look for Ben and Gwen. They did look enough like their cartoon counterparts that I was like, okay, I can get behind this, especially once Ben was in his black and white shirt. I was like, okay. Although the joke about you never wash it, that kind of got old pretty quick.
It's my favorite shirt. It's your only shirt.
Yeah, that was.
I'm pretty sure that joke was used before as well, like before this movie. Yeah, I think it's either Secret of the Omnitrix or one of the TV shows makes the joke about Ben not washing his shirts or wearing the same one or something like that.
Well, but that's typical 10-year-old boy. I kind of understood that. The thing that got me, and now that you point out that this absolutely is a non-canon,
yes, in its own timeline,
is the whole thing about the plumbers. It came off as, well, how do we explain the plumbers to an audience that may not have ever seen Ben 10 before? And I hate that. It's like, this is a sequel to something, okay? If you haven't seen the other things, go see those other things, okay? That's the point of something being a sequel. And if you're going to explain something through exposition, make it a new character who has a reason to not know this. Not Ben, who who absolutely knows what a plumber is. And when you say plumber to him at this point, he doesn't think the guy that comes to fix your toilet. He thinks the Men in Black.
Yeah. I did also find that weird that Ben was like not aware of, or for some reason just was like a little dumber than before. I think they kind of played up the whole Ben not quite being as smart as Gwen. I think they played it up a little too much.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but now after all of this, I'm like, for all the good things about this that, you know, I was willing to suspend my disbelief on, now knowing that it's non-canon, I don't care anymore. I don't have to worry about any of this. And now I'm just kind of disappointed that the things that I did like are going to be lost now. What was the idea behind this whole movie? Why did they even make it?
Well, that was because the director, Alex Winter, he did it for his kids who they loved the show. And basically he basically sat in the director's chair for this movie because of his because he wanted to make it for his kids. In fact, you may even recognize the director. I'm assuming other movies he's been in, you probably might have seen.
I don't know. Who was the director?
Bill and Ted. Does that ring a bell? Yeah, here he is.
Oh, okay.
So one of the issues
He was,
I had,
he was Ted in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
one of the issues that I had with the movie show, whatever, is that okay, there's going to be a talent show, and you got these teenage girls acting way too adult.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
So
I got a distinct Cuties vibe from this, and I was like, and then as they're leading,
long before that as well.
I know, but you know what? It's a commentary on our society, because honestly, as they were leading up to, you know, and the winner, and this should come as no surprise to any of you, I'm like, it's going to be the Cuties. There's no doubt about it, because who else could it be? Yeah. And you almost get the impression that it was rigged. There's something going on behind the scenes there, something very unsavory that I really don't want to think about too much, you know?
And the bullies even said something that referenced back to the cartoon series.
Yeah.
They're sitting there and it's like, I guess Ben really did know the dog guy won. And they both kind of dash out really fast.
Yeah, that's another thing. Those elements.
But nowhere in that particular episode did he mention that he knew him. He said in the cartoons, he didn't say it in that one.
Exactly, and that's what's very disappointing. The elements that do harken back so well to the previous cartoons and previous plot threads, and the setups for potentially good things going forward are completely lost now if this is not, you know, part of canon. So I don't know.
We also have the with Alex Winter, the director, also voices a character in the movie itself, the plumber officer who they visit in that
the dead guy.
Yeah, the really old, the guy who's been aged hundreds of years or something, and he's like dying. Yeah, Alex Winter voices that character. Gotcha, Constantine something, I think was his name.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and
that was pretty grisly too. I was like, wow, that's.
Yeah. And Ben even accidentally pulls his arm off and just froze.
Yeah, exactly. And that was
really disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some mature themes in Ben 10, more so than you would expect for a kids show. That was pretty, you know.
Yeah. We also had the Hands of Armageddon, the thing that Eon is trying to activate.
Yeah,
that is actually something that exists throughout the multiverse. So there's a version of the Hands of Armageddon in every timeline, or in every alternate timeline.
Okay, that kind of makes sense too.
Well, my thing too is, why was Ben poking a dead guy's hand?
I have no idea. Maybe it's just a kid being curious, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's what a 10-year-old would do when he sees a dead body. You know, he's doesn't realize the guy's alive, so you know. Yeah, that actually seemed very much inspired by the movie Seven. Just oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was just really, really grisly. So yeah, again, this is another example of time travel done poorly. If for no other reason than if there was thought given to what was happening here, they did not make it clear to the audience.
Yeah.
Like
Ben 10 has the master, but they don't have the counterpart yet. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So yeah, this was definitely my least favorite. Although I could have gotten behind it if it had gone somewhere. If it's not going anywhere, then I see no reason to even.
Well,
there are a couple of other
throwing
callbacks to the
Lee
show.
Majors and Robert Picardo. I guess they figured, okay, we have these
That
two
did
named
help.
stars in here. It's going to help this. People will love it.
Yeah.
No, not so
There are a
much.
few other callbacks to the show I recognized, like Diamond Head, Ben turning into Diamond Head in the school gym.
Yeah.
And also Wildmer on stage, and then Ben transforming back underneath like something, and then them passing it off as a magic trick.
Yep, that was pretty clever. Again, like introducing the Robert Picardo's character, that would have been a great setup for an ongoing character. If this was going to, was there actually a thought of this being the way Ben 10 was going to continue as a live action or something like that?
No, I think this was just like a one-off thing. I don't think they were intending to continue as live action.
Yeah, that was the other thing, the destruction
apart
of
from
the Rust
the
Bucket.
second live action movie, but that one's for Alien Force.
Yeah,
and that one is also directed by Alex Winter as well.
It kind of makes sense. Yeah, the destruction of the Rust Bucket was like, what are you doing? That's another thing that led me to believe. I wonder if this is just another one of those tangent timelines or something like that.
Yeah, weirdly enough, the next time we see the Rust Bucket, it will be called the Rust Bucket 2. So I don't know if like the events of this movie are happen in every universe or something like that.
Oh, my head!
Or maybe a different
Rust
reason why the
finally
Rust
gave up the
Bucket's-
ghost.
Oh, for Pete's sake! Yeah.
That's a little confusing, but
there's another thing too. We've already looked at Ben's use of these aliens and using them for ridiculously silly stuff. We're getting to the point where it's like, why is he not doing things like using upgrade and using gray matter to like upgrade and fix the Rust Bucket and improve things around him?
Yeah.
that is possible. I mean, upgrade can do that. I mean, because
why would he not be doing that more often on his video games, for example? Especially after having actually been in a sumo slammer game.
And my thought is, he hates homework so much. Why not have gray matter help him with his homework?
Right. There are so many more logical things that even a 10-year-old would be thinking of to do with these abilities.
Yeah. I think gray matter has intelligence. I think it's really confusing. Sometimes it's Ben's like relative intelligence while he's in that body, and then other times he has like higher intelligence than what he actually has.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which. They kind of go back and forth on that.
Oh, and that's another thing. The way gray matter was handled in live action, I really kind of liked. I thought it came off pretty well.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I had the Asian diner guy. When it turns out that he was one of the plumbers, that was a payoff for me, because I was like, when I found out all the other people were plumbers, I was like, oh man, I was really hoping that Asian guy was a plumber, and then it turns out like the next scene he was. I'm like, okay, that.
And what I thought was funny is gray matter apparently is Jewish.
Yeah, exactly. The creator of the Omnitrix, we noticed that every time he speaks, he uses
schlep and
Yiddishisms. Yeah, so It was like he's Jewish.
I actually never noticed that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we also have the part when Eon puts his DNA in the Omnitrix and then turns Ben into a younger version of himself. He does actually reference the fact that that's like he's bypassing one of the fail safes in the Omnitrix. That's the whole the 10-minute thing.
Right, and the explanation
to prevent
for
the DNA
why,
of the specific alien from overwhelming the person wearing the watch.
which is exactly what he wants to happen. He wants it to overwhelm him so he can take him over, which okay, fine, but then why does it happen to him immediately? Why doesn't it happen after 10 minutes? It's a lot of things that they establish just don't ring very true.
And also we have he mentioned something about Ben being like stuck as that alien forever, which I kind of took as like a hint at a feature we'll see later in the Omnitrix, in the official Omnitrix, that being the lifeform lock function. But considering this is not that version of the Omnitrix, I don't know if that's what they actually intended with that. That might have been, in this context, that might have just been something that Eon himself was doing to the watch rather than an actual feature of it.
Yeah, ultimately, it comes down to this Eon character made zero sense to me, didn't seem to fit with other characters that we've seen. The time travel made zero sense. The way the Omnitrix works here, and his whole scheme made no sense. And now, knowing that this is non-canon anyway, I don't really see any reason to invest too much of my own gray matter in trying to figure this out.
There's actually one thing I noticed when Ben, when Gwen successfully gets Ben, or I suppose brings Ben back, so that then Ben is the one in control of the body.
Yeah,
he actually reveals the Omnitrix symbol, and then he presses it to he manually turns himself back to a human, which is something we've not seen him do in the show itself.
True.
But weirdly enough, later shows, that's the thing that he does regularly, is when he manually turns himself back.
Also, probably the most important thing that we get from this is that connection between Gwen and Ben. This basically confession that they care about each other, and how much they care about each other.
And we also get with Grandpa Max attempting to sacrifice himself, and Ben not really being able to handle that, and attempting to pull him back.
And again, all of that's lost by this not even being canon anyway. So
I mean, the whole Grandpa Max dying or disappearing, in some way leaving Ben's life, that is something Ben's going to have to come to grip with at some point.
Oh, absolutely. That seems inevitable, right? I mean, actually, every one of these future episodes that we've seen where Grandpa Max is still alive is kind of surprising to me, But yeah, this very, very, some things I really liked about this movie, but overall very disappointed. This bothers me. This was a waste, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even the things I liked about it, the fact that they're dangled and then no long-term payoff for them is well, that sucks. It's like dangling a carrot I can never have.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie did still have somewhat of an influence over the show itself. The Hands on Armageddon, we'll see them later. Obviously, we'll see the character of Eon later, but he won't be the same. There'll be some differences to him.
Yeah.
And obviously, some minor themes through this movie is like Ben saying that he's not going to let anything happen to Grandpa Max. Kind of continuing the whole Ben's connection to Grandpa Max, or how strong of a connection he has to him. And obviously the minor threat of him losing Grandpa Max, which he will eventually have to accept the fact that Grandpa Max isn't going to be around forever.
Yeah.
That's
So
also something will come. We'll see that again. That's that theme.
but please tell me that the parents as they appeared here do not come back.
We do see Ben's parents in Alien Force. I don't remember them acting like acting like hippies. I don't recall
Good.
them.
Because that was just so ridiculous, so jarring, so not the characters that were already established, you know.
Though technically we already have seen the parents after this movie, because Destroy All Aliens came, even though it takes place before, it came out after. So the writers of Destroy All Aliens would have been going forward with the context that they had at that point in time. You know, like how the characters should act and everything like that.
Yeah.
And we did see Ben's parents in Destroy All Aliens.
You know, that's another thing. In Destroy All Aliens, the two altered parents are fighting.
Yeah, when they were turned into Wildman and Heat
Exactly.
Blast.
And
I think it's because of the disorientation and confusion of like the state. I don't think they had complete control over themselves when they were turned
right,
into that.
obviously, because they wouldn't have been attacking Ben. But the thing that I was wondering about, I'm sure I'm reading way too much into it, and I doubt that there's a payoff for it. But I almost wondered if there's like behind the scenes kind of like a bit of conflict between the parents, you know, that was playing out when they became aliens, you know.
Yeah, because they were attacking each other.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, is that those two races actually have some animosity that was playing out, or was it there might be some problems in their marriage that was playing out this way?
I mean, we don't see the Pyronites and Wolfenmancers, except for the the two older Wolfenmancers we met back in the start of season 2.
Right.
Actually, the two Wolfenmancers we see in that episode, they were kind of very violent and aggressive, and also weren't exactly cooperative with others, even their own species.
True.
So it could be said that the Wolfenmancers are like violent towards others.
Yeah,
including their own. Maybe that's why they were attacking each other, because or maybe like some kind of perception thing, maybe.
Yeah. So that's the 3 movies. Where do we go from here?
So next will be the first season of Alien Force, although we're not going to jump straight to that like next week, because obviously the last time you tried watching 13 episodes in a week, you only got like 9 episodes through.
Yeah, that's a bit too much for me in a week. I just can't.
Yeah, so we'll next week we'll do something else. Next week we'll do Alien Force season 1 the week after.
Okay, let me real quick. Let's see. So we've seen those. At some point we're getting to something called there. It looks like there's a couple more movies. There's Alien Swarm and Versus the Universe. I'm assuming those come at some point after.
Yes, so Alien Swarm comes after season 1 and 2 of Alien Force.
Okay.
And then Versus the Universe, that's tied to the reboot show.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so I mean, we if we do end up doing any kind of video based on the reboot, then obviously we would do that there. But since we're not doing the reboot right now, then that movie, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay. So we're done with the original run of Ben 10, 4 seasons.
Oh, come here. Here's a kitty who does not want to. Who's trying. There we go.
Adorable.
Yeah, look at the camera, Casper. Oh, okay, he would rather stare at the deck. Wait, do you want to climb up deck? Is that? Oh god. He's tangling up the wires now. One, move. There we go. Oh, congratulations! You now have a cat's butt facing the camera.
It always happens. And
yeah, here's his tail.
There's one guy whose cat always wants to be in front of his camera. So you'll see whiskers, and you just see an ear, then you see a kitty tail, and you see his butt.
Yeah. Actually, can you hear him purring? He is close enough to the mic.
I did earlier.
Okay, well, while the cat's sitting right in my face, hello.
So next is Alien Force, is that right?
Yep, Alien Force Season 1.
Okay.
And then Alien Force, the first 2 seasons of Alien Force are 13 episodes each.
Okay. And then what is this Ultimate Alien?
That is the follow-up to Alien Force, because you'll go Alien Force Season 1 and 2, and then you'll go Season 3, and then it's Ultimate Alien.
Gotcha.
So Ultimate Alien is basically the follow-up show to Alien Force.
Gotcha.
We will have to split Season 3 of Alien Force into 2 parts, because that season is longer than the others.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Well, now that my cat's here to start ruining everything and get in the way. So let's decide on something for next week. Yes, hello. Yes, so next week, let's continue the whole Godzilla theme going, because of obviously Godzilla vs. Kong recently came out.
Sure.
Let's keep the Godzilla theme going by talking about maybe not necessarily Godzilla vs. Kong only, like by itself, but the Godzilla films as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have a few of them over there on the shelf, and I've watched most of them, not all of them.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off. He's still in my face. But yeah, so next week we'll be talking about Godzilla, which I suppose in itself could technically be multiple videos itself, but we're not gonna bother with that.
We'll just do an overview.
Yeah. Okay, so actually, you know what? I'm gonna move this cat out of my face. Come on. Yeah, that's it. Come on. Okay. There you go. There you sit right there. This is one fat kitty. Okay, there we go. It's out of my face now. Okay, so what the... Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I heard. There we go. This is probably the clunkiest ending to a stream we've done so far. There we go. There we go. Yeah, okay. The camera almost fell over. I knew it was something. I heard it. Okay, and until next week.
Yep.
All I want.